Imagine for a moment that your presence leaves a lasting impression long after you've departed, that the impact of your life is felt, not in your absence, but in the fullness of what you brought to every encounter and relationship. This journey to being truly missed is not about fame or recognition. It's about cultivating a life marked by strength, resilience, and intentional detachment. Stoicism teaches us that letting go does not mean losing. Rather, it opens space for clarity, depth, and purpose. So ask yourself, what attachments hold you back? Are there aspects of your life, habits, or even relationships that you cling to, fearing their absence? In this video, we delve into the wisdom of Stoicism, exploring the art of detachment and how it can transform our lives. Together, we'll explore practical and philosophical insights to help you let go of unhelpful attachments, embrace change, and ultimately create a legacy worth remembering. Stick around until the end, where we'll unlock the final key to living a life that resonates long after you've moved on. Let's begin with the first pillar of this path to meaningful detachment: acceptance of change. 1. Acceptance of change. Change is the only constant, but how often do we resist it? We live in a world constantly in flux, and yet we often resist change, fearing the unknown it brings. To cultivate a life worth remembering, we must first embrace the inevitability of change. Stoicism teaches that the natural flow of life is beyond our control. Seasons shift, people come and go, and life itself is transient. Accepting change isn't about passively resigning to whatever happens. Rather, it's an active choice to let go of resistance and open ourselves to new possibilities. Imagine for a moment that you're trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the quicker it escapes. Clinging to things in life is much the same. When we desperately try to maintain the present as it is, we miss the opportunities that change can bring. Are there aspects of your life that you're clinging to because of a fear of change? Perhaps a job, a relationship, or even a personal routine. Acceptance is a transformative act that allows us to value each moment and experience for what it is without becoming attached to it. When we accept change as an inevitable part of life, we free ourselves from the constant worry about the future or the need to recreate the past. Think about it. How much time do we spend trying to preserve moments that are already fading? What would happen if we accepted that everything has its season? This approach doesn't mean we love or cherish less. On the contrary, acceptance enhances our appreciation. When we understand that nothing is permanent, we begin to cherish the present more fully, knowing that each interaction and experience is fleeting. By embracing the Stoic view of impermanence, we are invited to live with gratitude for what is, rather than longing for what was or might be. Stoicism reminds us that every ending is also a beginning. The people and things we love today may not be with us forever, and that's precisely why we should value them deeply now. Consider this. Are you holding on to something that no longer serves your growth? Are you afraid of letting go because it's all you've known? Accepting change is an act of courage that creates room for new experiences, relationships, and even perspectives to enter our lives. So, let this be a reminder. To be truly missed is to live in a way that is fluid, open, and adaptable. Each phase of life, each person we encounter, and each experience we embrace shapes who we are and contributes to our journey. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." Embrace change as an essential part of growth, and you'll begin to see how letting go doesn't diminish life, but rather enriches it. Stay with us as we journey further. In the next section, we'll look at a crucial step in letting go, understanding the difference between needs and wants. 2. Distinguishing needs from wants. Do you know what truly fulfills you? Or are you pursuing illusions of happiness? One of the most profound insights in Stoicism lies in understanding the difference between what we need for a fulfilled life and what we merely desire. Many of us carry unnecessary burdens, clinging to things that neither serve our well-being nor bring lasting satisfaction. To detach from what doesn't serve us, we must begin by asking ourselves, what is truly essential? Are there things in your life that you desire, but that ultimately add little to your happiness or peace? Needs are the fundamental pillars of our existence: our health, safety, love, and a sense of purpose. Wants, on the other hand, are often driven by fleeting emotions, social pressures, or the allure of novelty. Stoicism urges us to simplify our lives by focusing on what is essential, freeing us from the endless pursuit of things that provide only temporary satisfaction. Think about it. How often do we confuse desires for necessities, believing that more wealth, recognition, or material possessions will complete us? Consider the effect of constantly seeking more, whether it's possessions, status, or approval. Does it bring contentment, or does it leave you feeling empty and wanting? True fulfillment arises not from acquiring more, but from recognizing and appreciating what we already have. In fact, the more we pursue fleeting wants, the more our happiness becomes dependent on external factors, leaving us vulnerable to disappointment. One way to distinguish needs from wants is through a practice of introspective questioning. Reflect on something you often crave. Ask yourself, do I need this to lead a happy life? Or is it something I want out of convenience or social expectation? By examining our desires through this lens, we begin to understand that many of them are merely distractions from our true needs and potential. In this process, gratitude plays a powerful role. Practicing gratitude for the essentials, our health, loved ones, the ability to grow and learn, helps us focus on what genuinely matters. Stoicism teaches us to appreciate life's simple joys rather than constantly seeking more or better. By grounding ourselves in gratitude, we reduce the emotional burden of unhealthy attachments and lessen our dependence on external validations or material possessions. Stoicism is not about rejecting all desires. Rather, it is about differentiating between what enhances our lives in a meaningful way and what only adds to the noise. To be truly missed, focus on enriching your life with values and relationships that fulfill your core needs rather than pursuing endless desires. This shift not only brings peace, but also liberates you from being overly attached to the superficial. As Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." By narrowing our focus to the essentials, we cultivate a life that is not only lighter and more content, but also deeply grounded in what is real and meaningful. Are there desires in your life that you could let go of to create space for true fulfillment? As we move forward, we'll delve into the next aspect of learning to detach, engaging in daily reflection to keep ourselves aligned with what truly matters. 3. Exercise of daily reflection. How often do you pause to truly understand what matters in your life? One of the most powerful habits we can cultivate is the practice of daily reflection, a time set aside to examine our actions, thoughts, and priorities. In the Stoic tradition, daily reflection serves as a means of anchoring ourselves in what is truly important, enabling us to discern whether we are aligned with our values or being swept away by fleeting desires. Reflecting daily encourages us to engage deeply with life rather than simply going through the motions. Consider this. How often do we pause to question the motives behind our choices or the people we choose to spend time with? Are we acting with intention, or are we caught in habitual patterns? Stoicism encourages us to take a step back, look at our day, and honestly assess whether our actions contribute to our growth and well-being or whether they detract from it. By making this a daily practice, we begin to recognize patterns that either uplift us or hold us back. To engage in daily reflection, set aside a quiet moment, perhaps at the beginning or end of the day. In this space, ask yourself questions that bring clarity to your intentions. Reflect on what brought you joy, what challenges you encountered, and whether your actions aligned with your values. Did you live today as you intended, or did you get sidetracked by distractions and temporary desires? One powerful method of reflection is journaling. Writing down your thoughts and observations helps crystallize insights, making it easier to identify areas in need of change or improvement. Imagine looking back on your journal entries a month from now. What patterns would you notice? Are there recurring desires that don't add value to your life? Or perhaps there are relationships or habits that consume more energy than they are worth. Reflection gives you the clarity to recognize these patterns and make conscious adjustments. Through regular reflection, we gain a deeper understanding of our attachments and what drives them. Often, we find that our minds are cluttered with concerns that, upon examination, turn out to be trivial. A daily practice of reflection enables us to sift through our thoughts and focus on what truly deserves our time and energy. This process fosters self-awareness and a sense of control, allowing us to detach more easily from things that don't serve us. The Stoics believed that without self-knowledge, we are like ships lost at sea, drifting without purpose or direction. By taking the time to reflect, we steer our lives with intention. We become mindful of our actions, make decisions that align with our values, and ultimately live with a sense of peace. Reflection not only aids in detachment from unhelpful attachments, but also brings us closer to the life we aspire to lead. As we practice this art of daily reflection, we gradually find ourselves less entangled in the distractions of the world. We start living with a greater sense of purpose, focusing on our internal growth and the relationships that truly matter. By prioritizing this time each day, we open a path to wisdom and self-discovery, which lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. With each day of reflection, we cultivate an inner peace that helps us detach gracefully from what doesn't contribute to our fulfillment. Now, let us explore how focusing on our own internal control strengthens our ability to live in alignment with our values. 4. Focus on internal control. Are you trying to control the uncontrollable? One of the fundamental teachings of Stoicism is that true peace and resilience come from focusing on what lies within our control while accepting what does not. In life, countless things remain outside our influence. Other people's actions, the outcomes of events, the opinions others hold of us. Yet, how often do we waste energy trying to bend these external forces to our will? Ask yourself, are you spending your time and energy on things beyond your control, hoping they'll conform to your expectations? The Stoic path teaches us to focus on what we can truly govern: our actions, our judgments, and our responses to life's challenges. By concentrating on our internal control, we learn to let go of unrealistic expectations and, in turn, free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Imagine the mental clarity and sense of liberation that come from releasing concerns that aren't ours to control. What would happen if you redirected your energy inward, focusing on mastering your responses and cultivating a calm, resilient mind? To practice focusing on internal control, start by observing your reactions throughout the day. When you encounter a situation that stirs frustration or disappointment, pause and ask yourself, is this within my power to change, or must I accept it as it is? By regularly asking this question, you develop the habit of discernment, learning to release attachments to outcomes and external opinions that fall beyond your influence. Think of how often we react to others' judgments or to life's unexpected turns with frustration, anger, or worry. Such reactions don't alter the situation. they only disturb our inner peace. Instead, imagine responding with a calm, balanced perspective. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely observed, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This shift in perspective allows us to regain our equilibrium, making it easier to navigate life with grace. Focusing on internal control also means taking responsibility for your thoughts and actions. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. By consciously choosing our thoughts and actions, we cultivate an inner strength that isn't easily shaken by external turbulence. This strength is the cornerstone of Stoic resilience, enabling us to face life's uncertainties with a sense of confidence and purpose. Over time, this practice helps you detach from the need for external validation or control over others' opinions. Instead, you find contentment in knowing that you are living in accordance with your values and intentions. To be truly missed, cultivate a life where others remember not how you controlled or manipulated situations, but how you mastered your own reactions with dignity and wisdom. This focus on internal control is a pathway to serenity and self-mastery, one that liberates us from the roller coaster of external circumstances. As we move forward, let us consider another essential component of meaningful detachment: confronting our fears to understand what truly drives our attachments. 5. Confronting fears. What fears keep you bound to the things you no longer need? Fear often lies at the heart of our attachments. Whether it's the fear of loneliness, failure, rejection, or change, these fears tether us to people, situations, or habits that may no longer serve our growth. Stoicism teaches that by confronting our fears, we can see them for what they truly are: shadows that disappear when exposed to the light of reason and understanding. So ask yourself, what are the fears that keep you attached? Are they grounded in reality, or are they illusions that prevent you from experiencing freedom? The first step in confronting fear is identifying it. Many of our attachments are, in fact, subtle ways of masking our insecurities or uncertainties. Perhaps you're holding on to a relationship out of fear of being alone, or you're reluctant to pursue a new path because you fear failure. These fears can be powerful, but Stoicism encourages us to face them rather than avoid them. Only by acknowledging and examining our fears can we begin to release their hold on us. One way to confront fear is through deep reflection, examining the beliefs that support it. Fear of failure, for example, often stems from a belief that our worth is tied to success, or that failing diminishes us. By challenging these beliefs, we can see that failure is a natural part of growth, a valuable teacher rather than a judgment of our worth. What beliefs do you hold that might be limiting your courage? Are they serving you, or are they keeping you in a place of stagnation? Confronting fear requires courage, but it also requires a willingness to be vulnerable with ourselves. Stoicism teaches that it's not only the fearless who are strong, but those who can look their fears in the face, question them, and ultimately rise above them. In this process, self-affirmation plays a crucial role. Remind yourself of your resilience, your ability to face challenges, and the worth that lies within you regardless of any outcome. Fear is often rooted in the past, an experience, a rejection, or a loss. But each day gives us a chance to see things anew. By confronting and understanding our fears, we free ourselves to live more fully in the present. As Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, reminds us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When we examine our fears, we often find that they're based more on imagined scenarios than on real, present dangers. Overcoming fear doesn't mean it will vanish entirely. Rather, it means we build the courage to live with it, to allow it to exist, without letting it control our actions or dictate our choices. When we release the grip of fear, we become capable of detaching from things that no longer serve us, opening ourselves to a life of greater freedom and authenticity. As we gain courage in facing our fears, we move closer to understanding who we are without the attachments that held us back. Let's explore the next step in our journey toward detachment, seeking new experiences to expand our perspectives and lessen the hold of what is familiar. 6. Seeking new experiences. Are you open to stepping beyond the familiar to discover what lies ahead? When we limit ourselves to what is known and familiar, we become bound by routines and attachments that may no longer serve us. Seeking new experiences is an essential part of Stoic practice, inviting us to broaden our perspectives, reduce our dependence on old comforts, and encourage personal growth. By embracing new experiences, we challenge ourselves to move beyond what we have become attached to, thus finding freedom from unnecessary dependencies. Ask yourself, what routines or habits are you holding on to simply because they are comfortable? Is it time to explore something new? Stoicism values adaptability and resilience, qualities that are strengthened when we engage with unfamiliar situations. Venturing into new experiences, whether trying a new activity, meeting new people, or exploring different environments, opens us to possibilities we might never have considered. Each new experience provides a mirror, reflecting parts of ourselves we might not yet know. In the face of new challenges, we discover resilience, adaptability, and even hidden strengths. Are you allowing your world to expand? Or are you keeping it small to feel secure? When we embrace novelty, we begin to see that our attachments to the past often stem from a fear of the unknown. By actively seeking new experiences, we counteract this fear and cultivate a sense of curiosity and openness. Life, after all, is in constant motion. To cling to the past or familiar routines is to resist the natural flow of existence. By remaining open to change, we align ourselves with the Stoic principle of accepting life's dynamic nature. Trying new things doesn't mean abandoning who we are. Rather, it's a means of discovering and refining ourselves. The more diverse experiences we accumulate, the more nuanced and adaptable we become. This approach doesn't imply a chaotic pursuit of every new opportunity, but a mindful engagement with the world, choosing experiences that contribute to our growth and understanding. Have you allowed yourself the freedom to explore what might lie beyond the bounds of your current comfort zone? Each new experience provides insights that help us detach from what no longer serves us. When we diversify our interests and perspectives, we place less emphasis on what is lost and more on what is gained. We become less tied to specific people, places, or outcomes, finding that the world is abundant with opportunities for connection and understanding. Seeking new experiences, then, is not about rejecting the old, but about expanding beyond it. In doing so, we cultivate a more resilient self, one capable of thriving amid change. Stoicism reminds us that to embrace life fully, we must be willing to step beyond the narrow confines of what we know. By doing so, we find strength and flexibility, qualities that make it easier to navigate life's transitions with grace. As we continue our journey of meaningful detachment, let's move to a daily practice that supports this openness and resilience. The exercise of daily reflection, which allows us to realign our lives with our values and intentions. 7. Recognition of impermanence. Can you hold close what you love without fearing its loss? To live a life free from excessive attachment, one must come to terms with the impermanence of all things. In Stoicism, the recognition that everything is temporary lies at the heart of understanding the natural flow of life. People, situations, relationships, all things are subject to change, decay, or end. This impermanence isn't a source of sorrow, but a reminder to appreciate each moment and each connection as it comes, knowing it may not last. So ask yourself, can you fully embrace something or someone understanding that it too will eventually fade. We often suffer because we cling to people, situations, or material possessions, fearing that their loss will diminish us. Stoicism teaches us that loss is an inherent part of life's cycle, not a deviation from it. By acknowledging impermanence, we free ourselves from the need to control the future or preserve what is naturally fleeting. Consider this. Are there things in your life that you're holding on to out of fear rather than appreciation? How might your experience change if you accepted their temporary nature? Recognizing impermanence does not mean becoming detached or emotionally distant. On the contrary, it enables us to love and engage more deeply, appreciating each moment precisely because we understand it is unique and unrepeatable. Instead of clinging to the illusion of permanence, we embrace a more grounded, present-centered existence, celebrating each experience for what it is, not for what we want it to become. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate a mindset of conscious gratitude. By appreciating things as they are in the moment, we become less attached to having them remain the same. This acceptance fosters a love that is unconditional, a love not tied to possession, but to presence. We find beauty in life's transience, acknowledging that the very fact that things do not last is what makes them precious. What might happen if you approached life and relationships with this perspective? Could you find peace in letting go, knowing that everything has its season? Impermanence also invites us to reflect on our legacy, to think about the mark we want to leave on the world. Understanding that our own lives are finite encourages us to act with purpose and intention, making choices that reflect our highest values. In this way, we live fully in the present while building a future impact that will endure beyond our individual time here. This perspective doesn't require us to relinquish our love or abandon our passions, but to engage with them freely, knowing they are gifts, not possessions. When we accept impermanence, we reduce our suffering by freeing ourselves from the futile desire to make what is fleeting last forever. We grow closer to an enduring peace, living with a sense of lightness and acceptance that allows us to flow with life rather than resist it. As we embrace the understanding of life's impermanent nature, we come to our next practice, focusing on what is truly essential, an act that helps us simplify our lives and deepen our connection with what matters most. 8. Focus on essential needs. Are you giving your energy to what truly matters, or to what only fills the void? Living a meaningful life requires us to focus on what is truly essential. In the fast-paced world we inhabit, it is easy to lose sight of what genuinely fulfills us, substituting deeper needs with shallow desires that bring only momentary satisfaction. Stoicism calls us back to simplicity, encouraging us to distinguish between what we need for a fulfilled life and what merely occupies our time and energy. Ask yourself, are you dedicating your life to what sustains and enriches you, or are you distracted by things that provide only fleeting pleasure? At its core, the Stoic approach to focusing on essential needs is about refining our priorities. Health, love, a sense of purpose, self-respect. These are the foundations of a balanced life. Yet, how often do we find ourselves chasing after things that, once obtained, add little to our well-being? To truly focus on what matters, we must strip away what is unnecessary, freeing ourselves from the clutter that fills our minds and lives but does not contribute to our growth. To begin this process, take an honest look at your current attachments. Are there desires or habits that consume your energy without adding value to your life? Perhaps it's the pursuit of material possessions, social validation, or even relationships that no longer contribute to your well-being. Stoicism teaches us to focus our attention and efforts on the essentials, a practice that brings clarity and a sense of freedom. By identifying what genuinely supports our needs, we release ourselves from the endless cycle of wanting more and more. In focusing on essential needs, we often find that our happiness comes not from accumulation, but from appreciation. Practicing gratitude for the basics, our health, relationships, our capacity for growth, draws our attention back to what truly matters. In doing so, we lessen our attachment to trivial desires that don't serve our deeper well-being. What might your life look like if you devoted yourself to cultivating what is essential rather than seeking what is superfluous? The Stoic practice of concentrating on essentials is not about denying ourselves pleasure, but about recognizing the difference between desires that are passing and those that are fulfilling. We develop the wisdom to understand that peace lies not in having everything, but in being satisfied with what we have. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." By aligning our lives with this principle, we discover the wealth of contentment that arises from simplicity. Focusing on essentials also clears the way for us to form deeper connections with the people and experiences that enrich our lives. When we let go of distractions, we have more time and energy to devote to relationships and activities that truly resonate with us. In this way, we cultivate a life that is not only simpler, but also more meaningful and fulfilling. As we refine our focus on what is truly essential, we become less attached to the external and more grounded in our inner values. This perspective empowers us to live with purpose and intentionality, embracing the peace that comes from a life aligned with what is real and necessary. With our priorities now clear, we turn to the final principle that can deepen our understanding of detachment, reflecting on the legacy we wish to leave behind and living with that vision in mind. 9. Reflection on legacy. What mark do you wish to leave on the world, and are your actions today aligned with that vision? As we journey toward detachment, Stoicism invites us to think about our legacy, the impact we wish to have, and the values we hope to pass on. Reflecting on legacy is not merely about considering how others will remember us, but about living with purpose, ensuring that our actions align with our deepest principles. Ask yourself, are your daily choices contributing to the legacy you want to leave? Or are they shaped by temporary desires that don't reflect your true self? Living with a legacy in mind calls us to act from a place of wisdom and clarity. In Stoic thought, the concept of legacy is not about fame or recognition, but about leaving behind something meaningful, something that embodies our highest values and beliefs. What values do you hold dearest, and how are these reflected in the way you live each day? By aligning ourselves with our vision of a meaningful legacy, we naturally shed attachments to what doesn't serve that purpose. This reflection on legacy also encourages us to be intentional with our time and relationships. When we think about the mark we want to leave, we become more selective with whom we spend time and how we invest our energy. Are you surrounded by people who support your growth and align with your values? Are you nurturing connections that contribute to your sense of purpose? Stoicism reminds us that each moment, each choice, is a building block of our legacy. Furthermore, reflecting on legacy shifts our focus from what we gain to what we give. In a world often fixated on personal achievement, Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes from contribution. By focusing on how our actions impact others, we cultivate a sense of connection and responsibility that transcends personal gain. Consider the ways in which your life might contribute to a greater good. How might you leave a positive impact, even in small ways, on the lives of those around you? In contemplating our legacy, we also develop a sense of humility, recognizing that while we play our part, we are part of a larger whole. Stoicism teaches that we are interconnected, that our lives are woven into the fabric of human experience. With this perspective, we are less likely to cling to personal accolades or superficial attachments, finding greater peace in contributing to a shared purpose. As we reflect on the legacy we wish to leave, let us remember that a meaningful life is one lived with intention, guided by values, and dedicated to growth. When we align ourselves with this vision, we naturally detach from what doesn't serve our highest aspirations. To be truly missed is not about having been known widely, but about having lived deeply, authentically, and purposefully. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploring the art of detachment through the wisdom of Stoicism. As you reflect on the ideas we've discussed, accepting change, focusing on essentials, confronting fears, and building a legacy, ask yourself, which step resonates most with where you are now? Which practice might you begin to implement today? If this exploration has sparked something within you, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know how Stoic principles like detachment and purposeful living resonate with your own experiences. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insights on Stoicism and personal growth. Share this video with anyone who you feel may benefit from this path of wisdom. May your journey be one of clarity, resilience, and inner peace. Live well and leave a legacy that reflects the strength and serenity of a life aligned with true purpose. Thank you, and may you walk your path with wisdom,